Greetings, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this. Happy holidays to you. I don't believe this. We are all the way down at the end of the year. Well, close to the end of the year. We have 7 more days to go, but still, end of the year. Ouch. I'm NJ Evans. How are you today? I'm a speaker, author, and a coach. This time of year, there are so many of us reflecting upon the good, the bad, and the ugly. In some cases, the frozen, the paralyzing thoughts. And I'm sure if any applies to you, then you probably are one of the people that I'm looking for. Yes, I'm looking for women of color, 45 plus, small business owner, that means less than 20 employees, and you've been in existence from 1 to 5 years. This is an invitation for you, and I mean only you. Okay? Do you need a roadmap for 2024? Is there a desire to transform into who you really are? However, you must agree that you're going to do the work. Plus, no scholarships, no free journeys. This is going to be your financial responsibility. Don't panic, it's not that serious. Would you like to know why I'm saying this to you? Because those who have gone before you had no appreciation of the gift. And to be honest about it, I was one of the very same people many years ago. No respect for time, no appreciation of the sweat and tears the person standing in front of me endured to reach her or his level of mastery, and not feeling worthy enough to realize somebody had a gift that they were passing to me so that I could have a ticket out of Brownsville, Brooklyn, Tilden Projects, a young woman divorced with a child, depending upon me. Poor girl didn't have a clue what she was doing. Depending upon me to answer the questions and provide the gifts for Christmas, birthday, food, clothing, shelter, the usual, just because she didn't ask to be born through me. Of course, you do realize that that's all open for discussion right there. To survive the projects and begin to live for me and mine, I needed a game plan. So I called on divine source, God, and I said, I need a game plan and I better come up with a good one. So I just kept saying, help, universe, help, help, help. I prayed and meditated. I asked my ancestors and the divine source for guidance. I yelled, help. I felt as if I was drowning. Have you ever been in this place? Then finally, a competition came into my community. Remember now, I'm talking Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York City. This group was seeking artists and writers and poets and musicians and photographers. That sounds about right, up my alley. Anyway, 300 applicants, 25 slots. I applied and was one of 25. That's right. I was accepted with my writing portfolio. The next phase, of course, was to pass the interview. That wasn't too much of a hard thing if you could manage 5 people speaking to you at one time. But the group's name was the Model Cities Television and Radio Production Program, and it was going to be housed at Brooklyn College. This is the early 70s. We trained on equipment that the number one job market, ABC, CBS, NBC, and the independent stations didn't have. I was in love. Finally found what I loved, and it was a legitimate career. They fine tuned my photography, my filmmaking, my script writing, learning about lights, the business of television and radio, the entrance point to broadcast journalism. So you could go either way with that. You could go either what they call production side of the fence, or you could go to the news side of the fence. I preferred the news side of the fence. So that was my call, I felt, my desire. What a world. I had no such opportunity previously. This was a first, and I was excited. Now, you know what that meant for me? That meant I didn't have to become a secretary or a cosmetologist. No offense to anyone that does that. I'm just simply saying I wasn't geared for that. But the Catholic nuns thought I was. I don't know how they got that, especially since I was a musician. Anyway, back to my story. So here was the little rainbow with this particular gift. You endured 1 year, learned, passed, and you would receive a Bachelor of Fine Arts because of the intensity of the course. And it was intense. Imagine, I knew how to have a vision and transpose that into a script, either for myself or one of my classmates. And I would create this 30-second or a 60-second commercial, first in black and white and then in color. Yeah, this was the ticket. Oh, I could feel this one coming. Went through the entire course, learned a whole lot of pluses and minuses of what they call above the line and below the line, and reading your audience. And oh, it was just a phenomenal course. But you know, it wasn't something that was open to everybody. It really was not. You had to, even though you could watch television, but you couldn't access television because you had to know how to and where were the openings and where was the roadmap. Upon completion of this particular course, what happens? I get blacklisted. Oh, yeah. I guess the curly afro did it. But anyway, in the number one job market, the number one media job market, New York City, New York, I was blacklisted. I was devastated. No clue what to do next. I had marketable skills and no access to a market. And that's kind of rough. I had no ideas. My ability as a wordsmith and critical thinker was not accepted. I thought this is what everybody wanted. So I want you to hold that for a second. I don't know if you've ever been there, but hold that thought for a second because I'd like to acknowledge a couple of people who saved my life, literally saved my life. I was in the hood, deep in the hood. And it was me, my emotional instability, meaning newly divorced with a baby, and no idea what I'm going to do next because this part wasn't part of my plan, I thought. Anyway, so I want to acknowledge a couple of people. I'd like to acknowledge Mark Chernow. He was a student teacher for us at Brooklyn College. And I'm really so happy that I met him because he became my lifesaver when I became blacklisted. Blacklisted, literally. And what he did for me was he introduced me to the world of New York, which I thought I knew, the village, which I thought I knew. But he introduced me to that aspects of what I needed in conjunction with what I learned, and that was broadcast productions. And I was able to audit that course taught by him at New York University, the Tisch building. If anybody knows anything about film, the film building for NYU, that's it, the Tisch building. So I had access to people of like minds and diversity. I was able to enter into new arenas and to just enjoy this atmosphere. This is a wonderful atmosphere of writers and people that were into voiceover work. And I even had an opportunity for a year, I was writing the news on one of the local radio stations, an independent station. And I also had an opportunity to be exposed to voiceover work. I like to also acknowledge Barbara Johnson. She kept us alive, all women of color and men of color that was attending Brooklyn College. It was not a very welcoming community. And she kept us alive and kept us focused. I like to acknowledge also a lady whose last name, for some reason, I'm totally forgetting or it's escaping my mind. Her name is Melody, and Melody gave me the opportunity to not give up. I was in a car accident. I joined her class, It was for an FCC, Federal Communications Commission, second class license. And this instructor heard that I was in an accident maybe 3 months into the course. Once again, a 1 year course. And she came to the hospital at the top of the Bronx. For those of you that are from New York, I was in a hospital at the top of the Bronx. And she came all the way up there, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, just to make sure I did the homework. And I'm laying in traction. I did the homework and learned the lessons. And she tutored me, took it upon herself that I was not going to disappear, fade into the woodwork, evaporate off the scene. She wanted me to definitely come out of her class with this second class license. And I did. And I owe it to her for that. The next person I'd like to acknowledge is a former city council member named Richard Green. At that time, he was the executive director of the Bed-Stuy Restoration Center in Brooklyn, New York. And this gentleman let me pitch to him that I had a program that I created and I would implement. I designed this thing and I said, I can teach your students, the ones in the fourth and the seventh grade, where everybody was getting left back or dropping out of school. I can teach them and give them an inspiration to stay in school because I had been studying something that was a little bit different. In those days, we're talking late 70s, early 80s. All right. They didn't know anything about video productions as a tutorial, but I brought it into Bed-Stuy community and it was fabulous. My men, my little men and women, they were able to enjoy themselves and didn't even realize they didn't like math and they didn't like English because they liked being in front of that camera. And I taught them television production, the same stuff that was taught to me, but just scaled down a little. And guess what? The Brooklyn Museum was the one and the reason why I was being successful because they sponsored the program. And I do appreciate them because they sponsored it at the cost that I wanted to receive. This was my price, bottom line, and they paid it. Thank you, Brooklyn Museum. I also had an education liaison. I became an education liaison for a junior state senator. I was able to learn the politics of the community, and I also became his documentarian, his photographer. I was able to see politics and decide I was too fragile for that career. But I appreciate the exposure that I received under his tutelage because he exposed me to and it helped me to understand the world of politics on the local level, on the state level. Last but not least, I had spiritual leaders, one in particular, Queen Mother Moore. She was an outstanding lady and she encouraged me and she kept telling me, don't stop, whatever you do, don't stop. I am extending a hand to you, those of you who might be interested in joining me on this journey. I would like to coach you. Now, my industry, as you heard, is media. The second industry I'm developing, which is cyber. The other industry I am looking at to sharing is you. How do you navigate through all of this? How do you maintain yourself? How do you keep moving forward? I see an opportunity once again, an access. And I think that you should take an opportunity like this and really run with it because you don't have a choice now. The doors are not open forever. And I'm talking about 2024 is going to be flip flopping all over the place, and AI and so much more has arrived, not arriving, it is here. I am a transformational coach. I've been through enough, experienced enough in my years. I have over 45 years of experience with people, especially if you know anything about the media. That's a people industry. And I learned some things and I'd like to share them with you. Now, if you're interested, I want you to reach out to me. And I have one question for you. Have you ever been in a place where you were stuck and you didn't know which way to go? Hmm. I would like for you to be able to sit down after going through my particular course, throw some gum on the wall, and it sticks. That's a metaphor. Remember, I'm not for everybody. So let's see if I'm for you. Once again, I'm NJ. Now, depending on what era of time, you might also know me as Natalie J. Evans. I'm a coach and I'm a speaker, and I am an author. I'm a business owner, a public relations strategy business that focuses on media, cyberspace, which is really fantastically phenomenal. You enjoy that. And you, which is even more fantastic, to pull out who you really are and let's march it forward and let you be taught, let you participate in what's getting ready to happen, not be subject to what's getting ready to happen. Mark out your little spot, your land. Put your stake in the ground and say, here I am, and I'm coming for mine. Thank you so much for your time. If you want to reach out to me, send me an email. The details are below. So, in closing, at the end of, or close to the end of this 2023, I'd like to say to you, remember to create the reality you truly desire and not one that you don't. Thoughts are things. Thoughts are things. Wishing you a happy, happy holiday. Ciao. This is NJ.